What's up, YouTube? Today I have a video for you where I play the same person 8 times, but I only show 4 right here. So we went 4 and 4. I won 3, he won 3, and 2 draws. And I thought it was very high level chess. You see this one, the accuracy is not amazing, but you see our ratings they're playing. We're playing very good chess, and that'll be pretty cool to share as we're both trying to push master and both up and coming content creators. So before we get started, if you want to be in the video, let me know. Comment, subscribe, like, and let's get straight into game 1. So here, d4, d5, knight f3, knight f6. So I'll play a Petrov in this opening. I do this a lot when I'm playing black. I did play knight c6 in one of the games, but I don't think it went quite as well. Oh, in this first game, I do end up losing. He goes knight c3. I go pawn here to d6, bishop to c4, bishop to e7, and pawn to d3. Now here, again, I'm not feeling uncomfortable. When someone plays the 2 knights against the Petrov, so there are a lot of different ways to go with the Petrov. You can go d4, bishop c4, although not very good, or you can do the exchange variation, but I found that knight c3 is the one I struggle with the most, so a little uneasy, but we keep going. I go h6, trying to stop the bishop to come here to g5, they castle, I castle, and knight drops back here to e1. Now, the eval bar says I'm winning, but in the game, knowing f4 is coming, I'm feeling kind of bad, so I go c5. c6 was better. I just don't know what to do against f4, as it does take a lot of space. First I go bishop g4, then I take the pawn, although I'm saying I should have just taken the pawn immediately. That was not what I did. I take back with the bishop, I go knight here to c6, queen slides over, pawn here to a6, queen goes here, king over. Now, I didn't take the knight initially, because I thought after this that they could go here. Maybe I miscalculated. What am I missing here? I go bishop g4, or bishop g4, but then about h3. h3. Oh, capture. Now I have, okay, I see, I just miscalculated that. So yeah, that's why I didn't take the knight originally, and I went my king over, so that when I did take, this pawn here wasn't hanging, but that's just a miss. They go pawn to h3, I take the knight, they take with the queen, I bring my knight here to the d4 square, looking to get a fork here. I'll take this pawn here on c4. Alright, I'm not looking for it. I'm giving a fork, but it's not forced to lose anything. The queen drops back to protect here on f7, f2, wow. And we're, as you see, a dead even position. Pretty good game. I go pawn to b5, then move their bishop forward. I take the bishop with the knight, which is a mistake. Should have slid my rook over, apparently, but after rook here, bishop, it doesn't matter, because they can't take this pawn. Because if I just go here, I can just go here. Yeah, so I missed that. Clearly, I just missed that. So I just took the bishop completely, not saying that I just trapped the bishop that did that, but I dropped back here. Now, I should have went bishop to h4. I did not see that, honestly. I was trying to figure out ways to trade pieces off the board, as I just wanted to get to an endgame. My king's not the safest, and with less pieces on the board, the easier it is to defend, in my opinion. So I just drop back here to e6. The bishop slides back, bring my bishop here again. I'm just trying to trade, take. Knight jumps back to d4. I think it's a different knight, and the queen slides here. So at this point, I'm feeling confident. I got out the worst of it. My king's safe. There's no more king side attack, and I want to just get rolling down the board. I go queen here, offering a queen trade. It's accepted. Pawn forward, knight back. I couldn't decide between the two of these. As you can see, it took 6 seconds, which is actually longer than 6 seconds. I thought about it at this point, knowing that this is probably the next move, and eventually I decided to go back this way. Why? I was trying to stop the knight from getting it, but it doesn't really matter. The knight attacks my rook. I slide up, knight back, pawn here to f6. Again, pretty equal position. The rook comes forward. I push pawn to a5, trying to get a queenside advantage. Pawn up, and here I decide to break through, going for a win that ends up being my demise. I bring my knight here to c5, attacking the pawn, looking for a fork, and they blunder. Now, how do I lose this game? After 8 seconds, did not see knight here to b3. A horrible move by, I don't know how I didn't see that. Quite ridiculous. I don't know what I was looking at, and I realized right at this point, so you see it takes them 7 seconds. After about 3 seconds, this is actually on the stream, I realized, this is documented if you want to go look on my stream replay. I was like, wow, I could fork, and I didn't realize, because of this, I was like, oh, if my knight was there, I could fork. And then I went back like, oh, I could have just did that the move before. So I have a completely missed tactic there, and it changes the game completely. I bring my rook in, knight comes here, I attack, and the way I lose, you will find funny after what is probably such a good game. They take the free pawn and blunder. I was like, oh, well, when they do that, I can attack the pawn. And what I should have done is just rook over, because it's the same idea as just trying to win the pawn back. And then after this, as you can imagine, not very interesting. They figure out a way to convert. I get low on time, and they just outplay me the rest of the way through. So that's game 1. I lost. And here is game 2. Now, I win this game, and you see the accuracy on it, 97.4 by me. Yeah, this was quite a storm back, 2450, but also 2450 for him. This is another game where we both played pretty good, honestly. Our last game you'll see in the second video, it wasn't the best, but like the first 7 or so, maybe 6, like we played pretty good in a lot of them. But I go d4, he goes d5, I go bishop f4, pawn to c6, pawn to e3, knight here to f6, pawn to h3, bishop f5, knight to f3, pawn to e6, and bishop d3. So I sped through that. There's nothing very interesting, nothing of note to talk about, so I didn't want to spend too much time on it. But you know, that's the first 6 or so moves. They take with the bishop, I take back with the queen, bishop here, captures, captures. Now, I've played him a couple times now. We do non-bishops quite a lot. And I do this over the board, too, with some other people I play the London against. And I would say this has definitely helped me improve in my chess ability, playing without the bishops. It's a lot more tactical, as there are no long-range abilities. All of it is short, coordinated attacks with the knights, which is actually kind of fun. Like, it's fun and it's not fun, because I personally like the bishop a lot, although I like the knight more, I'd say. It's very interesting. If you ever want to do that, I would say try and play games without bishops. You'll see where your tactics are at. But I go knight here to d2. They castle. I go pawn to a4, pawn to a6, and I castle myself. They slide their rook from a8 all the way to e8. I go pawn to e4, captures, 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 captures. We've exchanged a lot of material. We both have a queen, 7 pawns, a knight, and 2 rooks. The only difference is where our pawns are. So this pawn here is on d file, and this pawn here is on the e file. This is only in balance. They go knight here to f6. I slide my queen back to c2. Now, I want to go queen to d3, but the problem with queen d3 is, as you'll see, q d3, there's nothing stopping e5 from being played. It's really just a pretty good move. They're very aggressive. Can go e4, again, pretty easily. We have this, again, we have this imbalance, so I can't stop it. If I were to take, I lose my queen. If I were to take, lose that. Similar idea, I lose the queen there. And this is a threat incoming, so I had to go queen to c2 or e2, and I chose the wrong square there. So I go queen, oh, wait, no, what happened here? Yeah, queen c2, as I mentioned. Knight goes back here to d7. I slide my rook over to e1, pawn forward. We trade some more, and we trade again. Now, this is where I started to feel I had somewhat of a chance. And I know what the eval bar is saying. Same thing I obviously can look at this. The reason I start to feel it is their rook is just less active than mine, and it takes one more move for it to get active, which may not seem like a lot, but in such an equal endgame, and we literally have the exact same pawn structure at this point, I thought that gave me a slight advantage, and I lose it already, but mentally at least I had it. I go pawn here to b4, pawn slides forward, pawn to c4, queen drops back, and pawn here. I'm just trying to run down the board while their rook is a little inactive because, you know, it's controlling nothing. I at least control this, and I'm looking at that potential, also potentially a checkmate with this square here as the rook were to come up. But they take, I take, and oh, an important move. As you see, I take 4 seconds. You would think it takes less time. I'm saying that word a lot. I don't know a different, I didn't look up a synonym. But if I were to do it this way, the rook can actually slide over, which is sort of an issue. Yeah, this is the best move. It puts pressure, which is why I took with the other pawn instead of that one. They take, I take, and again, I've limited the utility of this rook. So I control 2 open files. They control 1, so I do have that little bit of an advantage, but that's the only advantage. And it's dead even, it's zeros right now. Rook over, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure protecting, but I'm able to squeeze out the win. I go queen here to c6, attacking this weakness, kind of obvious. And the queen goes here to c5. And this is where I took some time to calculate. It took me 16 seconds here, as you can see, so I'm doing the math in my head. Does it work? And honestly, playing on the computer feels like cheating, because in real life, you can't count. Like, I count it on the board, like, oh, here, 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 here. Like, I could just count out, and you cannot do that in real life. You have to do it all mentally, but I traded rook here, and then I'm just going. I'm going for the win. I slide my king over, and you can see this is kind of an easy conversion after the pawn is lost, especially because we have such a symmetrical position. There's no imbalance to be created, and it's just kind of hard to win. I would have slid my rook back to completely cut off the king, take, and then that just would have been game over. But yeah, that was game 2. Pretty cool game, and we have 2 more I'll show today, although we played 4 this day. The first 4 I think were better than the last one. I win this one with the brilliancy as well, and he wins the next one. So we went 4-4. It was like 2-2, and then 1.5, or 2-2, something like that. We had to play more than 8 games then, because we ended up being 4-4. So I won 3, he won 3, and 2 draws. No, that's 8 games. No, that's 3.5, and then at 4-4. No, we must have played a lot then. So yeah, regardless, this is just the first 4 of it. But here's game 3. As you see, 85.7, 92.4, 2200, and 2450. So we were playing pretty good against each other, bring out the best. So he goes e4, I go pawn to e5, knight f3, knight to c6. So this is the game, as I mentioned, I play knight c6. Not something I'm very good at. If you've seen my videos, if you haven't subscribed, I play knight to f6, the Petrov, a lot more. But I want to get better at different things. As I'm trying to become master, I need to not be one-dimensional. He goes d4, and this, as I said, this is exactly why I stopped playing knight c6, honestly. There are so many different lines, and I just do not know a lot of them. So I wanted to do something easier with the Petrov. There's not as many variations, but if you look at if you put in the engine, actually I can do that right now. It's a little bit better to play this way. This, I think it was 0.4 if I remember correctly. Yeah, this gives 0.4 for white versus this one gives 0.2. So it is better to play knight c6. I'm just lazy and I don't do it the right way. But I do play the Scotch. Replays the Scotch, and I'm trying to figure out what I should do, and I'm kind of guessing. I go bishop e7. This is a book move, but this is actually not amazing. They castle. I go pawn here to d6. These are all calculations. You can see all the time difference and different uses in time. I really don't know what I'm doing because the time just taking too much for this to be move 5. They take with the knight. I capture knight here, and this is all kind of intuitive, like just calculating. Nothing else made sense. And once we get to this position, I feel comfortable again. Now I did play opening. I'm not used to playing. But I'm in a position I'm pretty comfortable in at this point. There's nothing unusual for me. They go bishop g5, I go pawn to h6, bishop h4, pawn to c6, and then bishop here. Now this was a move I took a while to find. Yeah, you see it took me 40 seconds, and it was not even a good move, which is a bad use of time. I do that so often in real life and on stream and playing just in my free time that the moves I spend a lot of time on usually aren't the best. Now sometimes they are, but like if it was like out of this many attempts, how many times was it worth it? Is usually not for me. I went here trying to figure out, I didn't know what to do with my last square bishop. I was like, well, if we trade here, I can protect this pawn eventually, even though it'd be undefended. And as you'll see, I take back. And after f4, knight drops back, we're in a decent position. And I actually said this on stream, I could have just queen traded, which I completely missed for whatever. I don't know how I didn't see that. But yeah, queen b6 makes a lot more sense. If you don't see one of the first to queen trade, it's because I also attack that. So if you choose not to queen, if you go back, I just take the pawn. And then this is weak. Like it just doesn't make sense to not queen trade there if you're white. So they would have queen traded back. I slide back. We trade bishops, pawn forward. And this is what I was looking for. I didn't want to have a backwards pawn and let them push there first and take. I can actually just show that. Let's say, yeah, just here first. If I go there, this is just cement it. And then if I take, kind of similar idea. I just didn't want to have a pawn this far advanced with no pawns that can kick it out, which is why I was very excited to go pawn to e5 myself. The queen slides over, giving a check. I block with the queen. I take with the rook because you don't want to lose material. If you take with the king, I love that I can just show everything I want to show. You just lose material because this discovered check, and then this is going to go there as well. You can't take back, and then pawn will capture there. So yeah, I took with the rook. Pawn goes forward, knight goes to f6, and now it's about what weakness is worse. The fact that they have a backwards pawn or the fact that their pawn is more advanced than any of my pawns. So we have to figure out who has a better advantage. They go pawn here to h3, I go pawn to h5, king slides here to h2, king slides over. I want to push this pawn here to g6 to break this king side. The rook slides, pawn here to g5, and I felt amazing when I played this because it either forces him to en passant or push and I submit my pawn here, which could be an issue long term. Decide to en passant, I take with the king, pawn forward, I take, and king here to g5, and I'm winning. I have winning position, and I kind of felt it in the game, honestly. This is just too much of a weakness to guard on. It's kind of hard to guard for anyone, so I felt good at that point. They go rook to f3, I give a check, slide my rook over, rook in, king down, and pawn here. And this is the problem sometimes with having too many weaknesses, and as you'll see, I have some games like that myself that I should have avoided, but it just is easier to make mistakes. So now there's just this is the brilliancy, which I think is a pretty a pretty weak brilliancy, honestly. It was not that complex of a move to find. Like I've seen cooler moves that had less of a computer aided grade, but they take, I take, and you think the game is over here, but it's really not it. There's a lot of calculation I had to do in trying to figure out how not to lose, and you can see by my time usage, like even here, like I spend 32 seconds on king here to e6 because there's so much to think about, and you may not think it is. The problem is, going just rook up, I can't remember what the issue was. There was something not, yeah, you just lose that, so you can't go there. giving the check now is the best move, but you could see like once you go there, the king's guard, you're just pushing the king to where it wants to be to guard the pawn. So that was an issue. The rook coming down, just breaking everything. So it took me a while to figure out this move. So I pretty much squandered my time advantage at this point. The rook slides down though. King goes here to d5. I'm finally okay with giving up this pawn, attacking the knight. And this little maneuver, I think, is where the game ends. I go king back here, attack the knight, knight here. I protect the pawn, and here is where it's over. Because after king here to f6, there's nothing to do. One piece will be lost or traded off. And once they're traded off, it's a lot easier to win versus a rook and knight versus two rooks. Rook versus knight is pretty simplistic. And because I'm up a pawn too, I eventually just decide to trade it off. Yeah, because it's just a winning endgame. I just start pushing. Yeah, and then you can see timeout. Although I hadn't made in one. We were both playing a long time, and I was able to get this win. So that was game 3. I'll show you one more game. Although we had a lot, I don't want to make the video an hour long. This is a game I lost. 2,200 for me, but 2,500. Quite absurd when you think about it. And almost 100% accuracy to start the game off. Pretty cool game to be a part of. So I go d4, he goes c5. I go pawn to e3, captures, and pawn to d5. c3, knight here to f6, bishop to f4, knight here to f3, and bishop to d3. As mentioned, we do not play with bishops very often. I castle, he castles, knight b to d2, knight comes in, and I go pawn to a4. Rook slides over, pawn forward to a6, and knight back. Now, when I went knight back, I was feeling very confident. Like, I was like, oh, knight e3, so many things to poke at. This is an isolated pawn. What could go wrong? Well, when the knight slides back, queen comes here, and then knight. Oh, I remember this game now. This is an interesting game, and he actually texted a message while we're playing like, oh, he messed up, because he did, and he finds a brilliant tactic after. So pawn comes up, I push pawn. This is a pretty bad mistake. If I remember correctly, I don't lose because of it, but I was thinking about how to protect that for way too long. Rook slides over, the knight comes in, and this is the mistake. So this pawn is so weak, and I'd spend 20 seconds and take with the wrong piece, and I now see my issue. Well, this is kind of funny. I spent 20 seconds in the move before this trying to figure out what to take this with, and my issue with this was here, and because I was like, oh, this is pinned. If you have any brain, you see why. And not if I have any brain. I'm more speaking to how I view myself for not seeing this. Not if you don't see it, you're not dumb. I can't believe I just spent so long thinking about it and I calculated it wrong. But I end up not realizing that's just check. So then it's not really pinned, and I messed that up. So yeah, I didn't. Oh, oops, I made the mistake there. I can't believe I missed that. I don't know what I was looking at, and I take the wrong piece. But regardless, the queen comes in. I slide back. I'm like, okay. I'm looking for a fork here. How can I win? Boom. I was like, whoa. I had no idea what was happening here. I was like, oh man, I messed up. This pawn. This is so weak. It was a genius move. I go for the fork, and here, instead of making the right move, I blunder, and the game's just over pretty much immediately. I try and stop it, but there's checkmate, and that is how we went 2-2. So we ended up going 4-4. It was like a boom, like a back and forth series. It was pretty entertaining. If you want to see more, make sure you subscribe. Go to his channel too. Road to 100. I'm at 70 right now, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I hope last time I posted a video, the video part, like the chess part, was not there, and I hope that it is this time. So let me know in the comments. If you want to play, also drop your chess username. We can work out a schedule if you want to be in a vid, if you want to do like this where it's more competitive, or you want to teach me if you're better, or I'm going to teach you if you're a lot worse. That all works with me. But thanks for watching. If you made it this far, you watched for a pretty long time, almost 20 minutes, and have a good one.